There's a misconception among the NFL draft community that older prospects simply fall, well, because they're old. You see, age doesn't necessarily decide the draft stock of an NFL prospect, but age in correlation to their physical tools. Typically, by the time you get to 24, 25, your tools are your tools. You're kind of done growing at that age. That's why these 20 to 21-year-old prospects are a bit more alluring. But we've seen NFL teams take shots on older prospects because of the tools that they bring to the table. So today I want to talk about my top 10 old men in the 2024 NFL Draft. At number 10 is a prospect near and dear to my heart, and that's Tyrone Tracy, the running back out of Purdue. But he didn't play running back till this past season. He actually spent 5 of his 6 collegiate seasons playing wide receiver. He spent 4 years at Iowa, wide receiver. In 2022 for Purdue, wide receiver, made the transition to running back, and it worked out pretty darn well. His yards after contact, 4.44. Pretty darn good. If you're above 4 in that regard, then yeah, pretty darn solid. And on just 114 carries, he had 46 forced missed tackles. That's a pretty darn solid rate. On top of that, very good return man. On top of that, he can pass protect. On top of that, as a running back, he brings a really good receiving skill set. He's kind of an all-around running back in this class, and that's what I really, really like about him. He's currently my running back 5. If you haven't checked out my running back video, shoot, here are my rankings. You can go ahead and check that sucker out right here. But all the players on this list, they're going to be entering their rookie season 24 years old or older. So yeah, we're talking about some of the old heads in this class, and I had to start it off with one of my faves. At number 9, I have Khyree Jackson, corner out of Oregon. And when I talk about old men, he's an old man. He's going to be 25 entering his rookie season, and he spent 7 years in college. He was a 0-star recruit coming out of the 2017 class. Ends up going to Arizona Western Community College. Didn't play for 2 years. Thought about quitting football until Fort Scott Community College was like, hey, nah, we want you to come play ball, so come play ball. He ended up playing really well there. Ends up going to East Mississippi Community College in 2020, but because of Rona, they ended up not having a season. But the coach there was like, hey, Nick Saban, you might want to get your eyes on this guy because he's kind of legit. Like, the dude is 6'4", 203, moves well, got a ton of length. Yeah, you might want to get in on this. So in 2021, he goes to Alabama and only started 1 game, happened to be the national championship game against Georgia. Then in 2022, he only played in the first 3 games with 1 start before spraining his ankle on special teams. He wouldn't play another down for Alabama as Nick Saban suspended him indefinitely from the team. It isn't known why he was suspended, so I don't know if it was like a school thing, a team thing, but he would eventually transfer and find his way to Oregon in 2023, where he started 12 games, was phenomenal, and this is why we're talking about him today. He had 3 interceptions, 8 pass breakups this past season, only allowed 200 yards. Got put on my radar. I think it was the Colorado game. It was one of our watch-alongs that we do here on the channel, and it was either Colorado or Washington, where I was like, man, this guy is just huge, and he moves well. Like, he is this ideal like press corner in the NFL. Had a solid showing at the Senior Bowl. Again, a guy that tested out pretty darn well as well with a came in with a 4.5 40. You like to see that, but the 36.5-inch vert, 133 inches in the broad, kind of a ludicrous number at that. But someone who is entering the NFL with ideal physical tools, you're just going to be like, okay, you're a little bit older. Maybe you might just be a guy that we can start right away on a rookie deal, but we might not end up paying for when that second contract comes through. Or maybe you do. Maybe he just ends up being a really good 2-contract guy for some team. And I think that's A-okay. The age did bump him a little bit down my board, on top of it just being a really good corner class, but currently got a 4th round projection on him. Listen, I know you love the NFL draft as much as I do, and you're going to want a nice hefty watch list of players during this college football season. Well, go ahead, check out my draft guide. You can purchase it for only $30 by Venmoing or PayPaling me. Links in the description. It's a one-time payment and you get it for this whole draft cycle and forever and always. Technically, it's a Google spreadsheet. So send me your email when you send the payment. I'll get you hooked up. You will see my current prospect rankings and big board, my full evals. And guess what? It updates throughout the whole draft cycle. So it's a great purchase and it's a great way to support the channel. At number 8, I have Mohamed Kamara, the edge out of Colorado State, coming in at 6'1", 248 pounds. So someone who doesn't necessarily have the most ideal physical tools. He's shorter, the length, sub 33-inch arms, not ideal, but athletically kind of a menace. Ran a 4.57 40, had a 123 in the broad, 134.5 in the vert. The agility scores were really good with him. Just another cat who's going to be 25 entering his rookie year. And it's kind of wild because he came out of the 2019 class, so it doesn't feel like he should be that old. But he is. That's what his birth records say, his birth certificate. So not going to argue with that sucker. His brother did play football at Temple, so he does have a bit of a like a football pedigree in the family, but he's so stupid strong. And like the arms, they might not be long, but they're compact. They pack a lot of power. He packs a lot of punch. He's able to get a nice low center of gravity, kind of aided by that 6'1" in height, but he's consistently winning leverage. He's consistently just out hustling. Just he plays with a lot of urgency, a lot of fire, great pursuit speed. So you are going to worry about maybe the lack there of some tools, but just being a great athlete and just being very productive. Like he had a 19.4% pass rush win rate this past year. It's one of the higher ones in this class. Like it would contend with a Dallas Turner. So yeah, kind of legit. It's just obviously Dallas Turner, younger, has the tools. That's why he finds himself in the first round, the top 20, and I have Kamara here in the 4th, but still an absolutely great player coming off a really good year for Colorado State. At number 7, I have Dominick Puni out of Kansas. I got him listed as a guard, but did just play left tackle this past season, and ironically, I guess, did play guard in 2022 for the Jayhawks, but he also took some snaps at center at the Senior Bowl. So where does he fit into all this, man? This is a cat that legit can maybe play all 5 positions, and that gets you giddy. That's going to get you pushed up the board on top of being 6'5", 313 pounds with plus 33-inch arms. It means like, okay, maybe he can make it a tackle, but at the very least, he's going to be a pretty darn guard in the NFL. At least that's what you're kind of hoping. That's what you're banking on. The anchor can be a little bit inconsistent with him, but I like his movement skills. I don't think he's weak. I don't think he lacks play strength. He's got a lot of upper body strength, just about getting a little bit more sand in the pants when it comes to his anchor and not playing as tall, not letting guys take advantage of that leverage. But there's a lot to like when it comes to Puni, why he is a 3rd round, and honestly, I kind of feel like I'm lower on him than the general consensus, but I do like his experience on both sides. I like the versatility. I said I like the quicks, I like the footwork, I like the movement skills, and I like the upper body strength. Just a guy that needs to learn to play and sink his hips, play with a better leverage, and play with better grip. On top of that, just having a bit more consistency with his anchor in the NFL. But we're talking about a guy that in a very good offensive line class in general, someone who definitely sticks out. At number 6, I have Edefuan Ulofoshio, linebacker out of Washington, coming to 6'1", 236 pounds, and he will be 24 entering his rookie season. And for me, he's a very cerebral player, right? And typically you bring that up saying a guy that has a great feel for linebacker, but you hear that, you're like, okay, if the first thing you're telling me is he's cerebral, it probably means his tools ain't all that in a bag of chips. And I was kind of concerned that Edefuan was going to end up being a middling, just a kind of an average athlete. Like, I felt like he maneuvered and he moved well along the line of scrimmage, but I felt like he was more smart than a guy that played with immense speed. And he goes to the combine and it's like, oh no, he's smart and fast. Holy moly, ends up running a 4.56 40, 39.5 inches in the vert. You had 128 inches in the broad. You love to see it. 3 cone wasn't ideal, but I'm not worried. Like, okay, the change direction might not be like as nice. Okay, I can live with it if my player's smart as hell. Like, this is a guy that just understands how to play the position. He's been a very solid tackler throughout his career. He's got a good feel for coverage. So you're like, oh man, what's not to like about this cat? And this is where we could reel back. It's not necessarily going to be an age thing with him. It's going to be like an injury thing, as this cat played his first full season this past season. In 2020, I thought, oh man, this cat's gonna break. Like, after his breakout year, it was in 2020, and I was like, man, I can't wait to see him next season. And unfortunately, he suffered a season-ending shoulder injury halfway through the season. So I was like, ah, shucks, that sucks. And then in winter workouts, he tore his ACL, missed the first 8 games of the 2022 season, and even when he returned, he was on a pitch count. So someone who impressed in the short-end 2020 year, but because of injury, never played more than 300 snaps in a season. And then he played a full year, ended up being a 3rd team All-American. I was like, yes, we're back, but I still wasn't going to be sold with him as a day 2 pick until that testing. I needed him, seeing that, oh, he tested as a better athlete than I anticipated. Not to say I didn't see that athleticism on the field, but again, I kind of thought it was just like, oh no, man, this guy's just cerebral, quick twitch, guy that recognizes and anticipates exceptionally well, which he is all of those things. But maybe some of the injury concerns won't have him going as high. I expect him to come off the board in like the 3rd to 4th round area though. At number 5, I have Braden Fiske out of Florida State, defensive interior, coming in at 6'4", 292 pounds, and I feel like I'm probably lower on him than the general draft community because I kind of feel like he's a bull in a china shop. He is a bull in a china shop. Like, the dude wreaks havoc, don't get me wrong, has very good play strength, really good explosiveness. I mean, he blew up the combine, 4.78 40, the 1.68 10-yard split number was nice. His explosive drills were really good, on top of a very nice short shuttle as well. Just blew up the combine, and you see that first step on tape. But again, I reel back to kind of a bull in a china shop. Sometimes plays himself out of position. Sometimes those pass rushes, they just kind of stall out, they fizzle out. Not to say, like, he's got quick hands, he's got violent hands, but doesn't always use his hands to the best of his ability to break off of engagement. Like, there's not a lot of counters or secondary moves when it comes to Fiske. And you know what? You could probably get by being that guy, dude that just has a stupid explosive step and plays with good power, though I wouldn't say he's got like an ideal power profile when it comes to the NFL. Another guy that will be 24 entering his rookie season, but one of the guys that I feel much better about. He's a lot closer to my like top 75, though people have him in the top 50, and occasionally you'll see him make first round appearances in mocks. At number 4 is Mason McCormick, the guard out of South Dakota State, and he is straight up my guy. I love this cat. For one, had a phenomenal week at the Shrine where he played guard, but also played center. So this is someone who think it's going to give you some positional flexibility. A guy that played guard, left guard, mostly his whole career there at South Dakota State. But then he goes to the combine and measures out well, almost has 34-inch arms, tests it out like a freak. And suddenly I'm like, maybe he can moonlight at tackle. Is this a guy that can potentially play all 5 positions? because I love it, man. I love it. I got a top 50 grade on this dude. I'm utterly just a big fan of Mason McCormick, and he plays with a lot of power. He hits like a cannonball. He's a mauler. He's throwing haymakers with every strike. You love the movement skills. You love the just the haste that he plays with. He's been a captain the last 2 years there at South Dakota State. He's been a first team FCS All-American the last 2 years for South Dakota State. If we're gonna kind of nitpick things about him, is sometimes he can play a little tall, so you give up leverage. Sometimes the strikes just aren't as precise, so you kind of want to maybe see him work on that hand placement. But I absolutely love this cat. I comped him to Joel Bitonio, and I freaking mean it, man. One of my favorite prospects in this class. At number 3, I have Payton Wilson, linebacker out of NC State, coming in at 6'4", 233 pounds. And it's not necessarily like the physical tools, but the athletic tools that really pushes him up boards. Because like physically, you look at him, it's like, okay, less than ideal. Hand size, arm length. But linebacker that's running a 4.43 at 233 pounds, kind of want to, you want to get on that. And he's someone who, like, he gets it. Like, the cerebral part of the position, it's there for him. It truly is. And yeah, older prospect, will be 24 to start his rookie season. But the big hiccup with him is actually the injuries. Like, we could run through it real quick, where in his senior year of high school, he tore his ACL, his right ACL. And then his first year at NC State in 2018, he once again tore his right ACL. So we're talking about back-to-back ACL injuries. And then in 2021, he had a season-ending shoulder injury there in week 2 of the season. Missed spring practices after undergoing surgery on both shoulders. And he injured his left shoulder in the season opener in 2022, and he would miss the Louisville game, though that injury was undisclosed. And then 2023, he was phenomenal. He was great. Won the Buck Kiss Award, the Benerick Award, and played every game. But you do worry about the injuries. That's kind of like the big flat red flags when it comes to him, and it's not necessarily the age. You do worry about with shorter arms. How will he do matching up with tight ends? Like, okay, you can match up with them athletically, but physically, are you going to be able to contend that catch point? Are you going to be a guy that can get off of blocks? Because again, shorter arms, when you're working engagement, especially against offensive linemen, not exactly ideal. So you are going to be a little concerned about that, but maybe you view him more as a penetrator, which is fine. He was very good as a pass rusher, 22 pressures and 6 sacks, but let's not act like he wasn't a vital part of the run game, where he had 67 defensive stops. If you're unfamiliar, that's a PFF stat bit that basically means plays that result in negative to no gain. So yeah, Payton Wilson, kind of hella good. Might sneak into my top 50. Definitely a second rounder in my book. At number 2, I have Michael Penix Jr., quarterback out of Washington, coming in at 6'2", 216 pounds. And yeah, expect another quarterback at 1. But Penix, the kind of like the big red flag coming into this draft cycle is his medical history. He had 4 season-ending injuries during his 4 years at Indiana, 2 being ACLs, 2 being shoulder injuries, but he's been fully healthy the last 2 seasons for Washington. And word is coming out of the combine, coming out of the medical checks, injury isn't going to be a concern for Michael Penix. So that's good to hear. But some people, they have first round grades on him. I have a second round grade on him. Let's kind of like talk about why that's the case. And for me, it's like mechanically, he's still got some work to do. He's got a little bit of an elongated throwing motion where his shoulder leads his hips, and you know, Typically, when you're throwing, you want the hips to lead the shoulder, and that might result in some of his inaccuracies on the throw-to-throw basis, because a lot of people, they love his downfield touch and his accuracy, and he's got good downfield ball placement, but there are times where on the throw-to-throw basis, the ball placement isn't exactly ideal. And then you go to some of the other stats when it comes to these top 6 quarterbacks in this class, and he's kind of at the bottom of them. You look at his percentage in the middle of the field, which that's where most of your throws in the NFL are going to be. He's 5th among the top 6. When you look at his third down accuracy, he's 6th among the top 6. So you kind of worry about that. But why do people love Michael Penix? It's because that arm, he's got a big arm. He can throw downfield for days with good placement. He shows good pocket awareness, good pocket presence. And I'm not going to pretend like, oh, he's just a pocket athlete. He's someone who prefers to work from the pocket, and I like that. But let's not pretend like athletically, he's someone that can create with his feet, because he certainly is. He ran a 4.58 40, tested well in the explosive drills, and we've seen it. We've seen the pocket maneuverability. That sounds like a word. I'm going to go with it. The maneuverability in the pocket is his ability just to get away from pressure, extend the play, and he can extend it with his feet. But when he does extend plays with his feet, he's still looking to be a passer. He keeps those eyes down the field. He wants to win with his arm and not necessarily his legs. But it's nice to know that he's got the legs to do it. It truly, truly is. He had a very, very good season. I comped him to Geno Smith, and I'm not going to lie, I feel really good about that comp. At number 1, I got Bo Nix. He'll be 24, entering his rookie season. Same with Michael Penix. But Bo Nix coming in at 6'2", 217 pounds. I do have a first-round grade on him. Not a top 20, but a first-round grade. And it's been a long journey with Bo Nix, because I admittedly did not like Bo Nix about a year and a half ago. I remember I had Ian Cummins from Pro Football Network on the show, and we were talking about some of our sleepers, guys that maybe could sneak into the first round. This was for the 2023 NFL draft, and he brought up the name Bo Nix, and I laughed at that point. Granted, we were only halfway through the 2022 college football season, and I laughed because I was like, you know what? I remember Auburn Bo Nix. I don't like Auburn Bo Nix. The accuracy was all over the place. Not necessarily all over the place, but it wasn't like what it is now, and the decision-making was atrocious. That was kind of the big thing. The decision-making was terrible. But he was someone who we knew had the tools. Very good as an athlete. He's got a solid arm. Some people are out here crapping on his arm, and I don't get it. I think he's got a very strong arm. I'd say he's got like a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10. And it'd be like 7, that doesn't sound that good. I would have said CJ Stroud has like a 7.5, 8. So yeah, he's not too far off. And that later half of the year, I started getting behind Bo Nix as a day 2 prospect. So coming into this year, I think I still had Bo Nix as a day 2, maybe like a second or a mid-day 2 prospect. And then he was just phenomenal this year. Some people were like, oh, he doesn't attack downfield. But we know that he can. In that offense, he was asked to not put the ball in harm's way, which he did a phenomenal job at, by the way. Lowest turnover-worthy plays among any of the top 6 quarterbacks with 5. Jaden Daniels was the next closest with 7. And then after that, all the other guys are in double digits. But he was still hitting the big plays. Let's not pretend he wasn't a big play guy. He had 20 big plays this past season, which is comparable with JJ McCarthy. Holla holla. But yeah, the biggest thing is, man, he was accurate. He was not putting the ball in harm's way. I do worry because like Oregon kind of asked him really just to, I don't want to say Oregon, but he was really just kind of operating half of the field. But that was because guys like Troy Franklin and Tez Johnson got open so quickly. So he was someone who was consistently making the right reads. Yeah, I feel like I'd be willing to take a shot on him at the back end of the first round. If like my quarterback position right now is like, I don't really have a future guy, maybe bring in a Bo Nix who can contend with whatever bridge starter you have there. Like, I don't mind, like the Patriots, dude, if they don't take quarterback early, if they want to move back into the first round and get someone who can contend with Jacoby Brissett, I think Bo Nix could do that. If the Denver Broncos want to trade back up into the first round, how are they going to do that? Well, they could throw away next year's first. That's one way. Then they can do that to go get Bo Nix and have him challenge and likely win against a Jarrett Stidham. I like those options. Of course, it's not going to be for everybody. Like, I'm not saying, hey, Tampa Bay, you signed Bo Nix to a 3-year deal, or you signed Baker Mayfield, but you get Bo Nix to come in here and contend with them. No, that's just silly. Obviously, they've invested in Baker Mayfield, and they want to see what he's got moving forward. But these teams that don't have top 15, top 20 starters in the NFL, and they currently just have bridge or even backup level players, I would say send it. Go get Bo Nix. But let me know who are some of your favorite old heads in the comment section below. If you want more draft content, I'm currently pushing out my final prospect rankings for the 2024 NFL draft. So check out those videos down here. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.